Thanks, man. That's real cool of you. And hey, you just missed Slink. He's gonna be in touch.
Hey there, friendos, Vader Supreme the American Dream, back with more Driver Parallel Lines action, and today, this is going to be a post-commentary episode because these races were kind of a little bit monotonous to record, and I also can't really concentrate that much when I am trying to focus this much on the street races especially, so I decided to just do these as post-commentary. Seems like it would have saved a whole lot of time, which in hindsight it actually did. I can do the races, make them look mostly good. I do crash into a few things every once in a while, but I can actually make them look good. That's what the important part is. So, here is the first circuit race, LaGuardia Airport. Now and there I kind of crash right now. I don't actually... There aren't actually any difficulty indicators on the individual race courses in these circuit races, but I like to think LaGuardia is the easier track of the three, partially because of its wide open roads. Now, I'm doing these races on medium difficulty, so if you're wondering how a tuned Malzano without nitrous is beating all these stock cars, now you are aware of that. I actually did try doing the races, or at least some of them, on hard mode with the Malzano again, but it turns out that was a big mistake, because if you want to win these races, you have got to use a stock car, a car in the race category. Now, LaGuardia, back to what I was saying earlier, is the easier track of the three, partially because it's also the only one that seems to have a shortcut. Right here on the left, you can actually cut across the grass and the game will not really care about it, which is also a problem I've noticed with Gran Turismo 4. Like some of the tracks that have chicanes on them, you can cut across them and you don't have any penalties for doing so. That was an odd design choice. Even if the racetracks in question didn't have barriers along those grassy chicane areas, it would have been a better move gameplay-wise to just put a barricade across the grass so you can't really cut across it. But I will say that Guardia, it's a pretty quick track when you know what you're doing, and even though it has a fair amount of hairpin turns in it, it's actually not that hard to drive. It's pretty fun, and once again, wide open. If you're wondering why I don't do post-commentary more often, commentary like this is one of the reasons. Hey, here I'm cutting across the grass right now. And no penalties were given. Yeah, I'm going to try to talk about each individual race separately in this video. Now, this one, Hunt's Point, is what I would consider a medium difficulty track, partially because of how it starts off. Wait for it. Now, this bend right here, you actually have to go straight and clockwise in order to get through it. You just try to go left, and the game will not register you as having completed a lap. Now, that is an anti-cheating measure that I kind of like in this course. Like, it knows there's a shortcut, and it doesn't let you take that shortcut. Also, the way that this track kind of intersects with itself a few times, mainly during that opening bit and that... how would I put this? That 8-track looking area with the zigzag. That is one of the reasons why I'd say this track would be medium difficulty. That and the fact that you can get T-boned by cars coming through that area when you're on subsequent laps, or far enough ahead in the first one even. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'd consider this medium difficulty. But it doesn't have that much in terms of grass to slide out on, and the track is kind of narrow, so it does do a pretty good job at keeping you on course. Accidental wordplay. Now, the New Jersey racetrack, this one, it's also got a unique thing. Specifically, it's the only one that takes place exclusively on dirt, kind of like rally races in the Gran Turismo games. Basically, if you ever want to feel like Colin McRae, I'd suggest you race in New Jersey. Anywho, this is kind of tricky because of a lot of other parts in the race that kind of throw you off, somewhat literally, especially when you get to the rhythm section. It feels more in place with a motocross game. And we are about to get to the first rhythm section here. Depending on how fast you take that part, you can possibly flip the vehicle over very easily. So try to watch your speedometer when you're going through there. This, I don't think it really qualifies as a rhythm section because it's just one big jump, but it's also equally possible to flip if you're approaching it at an odd angle. After that, all you have to really worry about is the small number of hairpin turns, and then you have completed a lap at the Jersey racetrack. So it is tricky first few times you do it, more so than the other tracks, of course, but once you know what you're doing, it's a cakewalk, and a pretty zen-ish one as well, considering how you slide hard enough on dirt. The dirt just kind of takes the wheel for you. Yeah. I think out of all the racetracks in this game, the circuit races, I mean, I think I like the Jersey racetrack the most.
Race or what? Are you ready?
Now, the street races in Driver Parallel Lines, in terms of describing them, I don't exactly have that much to say about them, partially because how many times can you talk about all the various twists and turns of city streets? A little bit less ambitious than, say, in Midnight Club games, where they find a way to make those races, specifically kind that, once again, have you driving through city streets, actually feel really wild, whereas in Parallel Lines, the wildness, while it is there, it's a little bit more subdued than in, say, any of those games. So honestly, I don't really have that much to say about street races, other than the fact that you can, in fact, beat them with, well, I was going to say stock vehicles, but you can pretty much, any vehicle will do as long as it's fast enough. You don't need to unlock race vehicles in order to have a fighting chance in the street races. With one important distinction. I'll get to that later in the video. This I just wanted to show off because once you complete a street race, the game doesn't let you start the next race immediately. You have to get a certain distance away from the place where the street race started before the pip actually shows up again. Maybe that's to prevent the player from grinding too much cash out of one activity, or side job, really, over and over again. Yeah, it's basically a form of anti-grinding, but it's also equally cheesable if you understand what I am saying here. But yeah, nice touch, Reflections. Nice touch, convincing us to go look for other odd jobs. I mean that. I'm being sincere, folks. Now this one I wanted to show off, partially because it's the first of the street races where I am using a clearly stock vehicle because my Malzano got a little bit too damaged. Curse my reckless driving skills. And I wanted to see if I could use a stock vehicle to win a street race. Will I actually win it? Well, considering how I'm trying to be the best at this game for the sake of this LP, I am fairly certain that you might be able to come to your own conclusion regarding that statement. I'll leave you to judge.
Traffic flow. Suspect is coupe. We lost the suspect.
See what I mean? First place, and this thing didn't even have a single modification on it. Told you so.
So what do you say? How about a
Feel
race?
free to skip over all of the Manhattan races. Well, the medium difficulty
Are you
street
ready?
races. It's pretty much the
3,
same as what you just saw.
2,
Only difference is I
1,
actually use a muscle car for the second and third race. By the way, the Brooklyn is also a very good vehicle for these activities. Just wanted you to know. So feel free to skip ahead to the New Jersey part of the street races if you want to see where the difficulty really steps up, folks. And by proxy, see that one important distinction that I mentioned earlier.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go! 3, 2, 1, go!
Now, New Jersey, that is definitely the time you have to switch over to using a race car if you want to win any of these races. You still get money if you come in not first in the street races, but I like to get first place because I'm kind of a completionist when it comes to stuff like this. Also, it turns out that my comment earlier about needing a race car to win the circuit races on hard difficulty, that was actually pretty true of the street races, because let's just say the higher the difficulty is for street races and circuit races, the more aggressive the AI becomes. I will put up a video using the B-roll footage from these clips as proof that, yes, setting the difficulty higher in driver parallel lines is kind of like using the faster classes in, say, a Mario Kart game. It does increase the difficulty of the AI drivers, and it also increases their aggression. Only difference is, in a game like this, you can actually see that aggression shown off a little bit further beyond the AI blasting off to rubber band AI speeds. Mainly because vehicles here actually show damage. I wonder why it was so hard for me to just see that a few seconds ago. Damn. Since it's not on board. But yes, while the roadways in New Jersey, well specifically the more suburban northern part of New Jersey, are a little bit more wide open, everywhere else, especially the industrial areas, that is where it's a little bit more slalom-like. So remember to watch your speedometer and the road ahead of you. Make like Jim Morrison would have done and keep your eyes on the road and hands up on the wheel. And possibly not crashing into pedestrians. But that's not necessary, that last part. Just FYI.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
Now, right here is where one of the perfect driver bonuses actually comes up. Once again, I am not entirely sure how the perfect driver bonus is earned. I assume it's by getting a really good time on the odd jobs, but it's never exactly stated what that time is supposed to be. I mean, if it was like, beat the track record of so-and-so time, then maybe it would be easier to understand it. Unlike, say, the milestones in Def Jam Fight for New York, they are not documented, but like the milestones in Def Jam Fight for New York, they are very mysterious, at least to me. Now I want to see if there's a strategy guide for this game that I can actually buy, so I can kind of learn about some of the... see if it has any lore about parallel lines in it. Strategy guides usually have that sort of thing. And to see if it actually lists the perfect driver times. Here, I want you to pay close attention to something awesome that kind of happens. Not awesome for me, but awesome for... Ooh, geez, Louise! Hit that guy so hard I blew a wheel off. Mercifully, I was at the final checkpoint for the race, so I would definitely put that in the win column, especially the narrow kind of win column. Especially since wheels flying off of the vehicle is only really common in Stuntman. At least for me. I screwed around with Stunt Constructor a lot, so I was not expecting to see a wheel come off there in a collision. I mean, I was expecting it to be possible in this game, but I wasn't expecting it to actually happen, but hey, I pulled through regardless. Just like a real OG would have done. Now, right here I am showing off the Driver Grand Prix races. As you can see, not only are they in areas that are kind of hard to spot from the street, they are also... the icons don't show up until you get close enough. Usually, if you see the message telling you to drive into the chevron, then you're close enough. Unfortunately, the game's not good at telling you where the chevron is in relation to you. Now, you may have noticed that I am not using a race car. I am using a tuned Yamashita 900 motorcycle for this. This is actually how I got race cars in my initial playthroughs of Parallel Lines. Step 1, acquire a Yamashita 900 and tune the crap out of it. Step 2, enter the Long Island or Manhattan Driver Grand Prix. Step 3, use the reward vehicles from those races to positively curb stomp the competition in all of the circuit races, by which I mean the medium and hard difficulty circuit races. The easy ones do not give you a reward car, although I'm pretty sure they were supposed to. More on that when I get to an actual story mission that involves the racetracks. As for the Driver Grand Prix events, they are kind of easy, again, once you have the right vehicles. It's basically the same as a street race, only there's no traffic, no pedestrians on the sides of the roads, and most importantly, no police interference for whatever reason. I'm going to assume these are some kind of officially sanctioned event in universe. So, yeah. That's a good way to explain it. The only problem with them is that they're a little bit too long. Shoutouts to the awesome red, white, and blue paint job on the Yamashita. Especially if you have a fast vehicle, then they go from challenging to just kind of monotonous. Which, by the way, Mr. Saxophone is one of the reasons why this part took a little bit long to come out. The jadedness from the races kind of burnt me out a little bit, and especially not helping since that these are full Grand Prix. They're basically an amalgamation. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned this earlier. I should probably point this out. They're kind of an amalgamation of circuit races and street races. Street races in the fact that they, well, take place on the streets, and circuit races in the sense that you have to do multiple laps. Combine both of those together, and you get roughly 10-minute races that potentially could be a cakewalk, depending on how much of a fast vehicle you have with you. Man, I seem like I've been rambling. I honestly wouldn't blame you if you just skipped this part and headed to the next one, once it's up, that is. So I believe I will cut off my rambling now. On a somewhat related note, you don't need to use a motorcycle for the street races. You can... Actually, you can just... Here I'm showing off how you can also use a tuned vehicle, tuned car, as opposed to a motorcycle for the street races. Now that I think about it, I almost feel as though there were supposed to be multiple driver Grand Prix for each individual island. Like, there's one for Long Island, and there's one for Manhattan, but I almost feel like there was one for the Bronx and one for New Jersey. The lackluster difficulty in terms of being able to outrun the competitors in this side job definitely seems like a remnant of when there were supposed to be individual difficulty levels for Driver Grand Prix, if that actually was the case at all. If I ever somehow manage to get in contact with someone who worked for Reflections, I am probably going to ask them that question. If Driver Parallel Lines was supposed to have more than just the 2 Driver Grand Prix events. Yeah, that's definitely how I should phrase it. Inquiring minds want to know this kind of stuff, you know. And we are almost at the end of our journey here. You might even say that we had ourselves a day at the races. Simon, if you put that Jurassic 5 song in here, we're probably going to get copyright struck, so I strongly suggest you don't do that. Seriously this time. Learn from that 2K20 video. So I believe that is where we shall conclude for today. I'm Fredo Supreme, the American Dream. Like it if you liked it, subscribe if you really liked it, and holla at y'all later. Oh, and shout out to Mr. Saxophone once more.